Softman Show. We're on the Team 980, of course, always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming on YouTube at the Team 980, where you see Will Dawkins, GM of your Washington Wizards. What's up, dude?
Nothing much. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How excited are you to just keep this moving and get BK in? And how's your French lessons going?
My French lessons, still working on that.
Okay,
Bilal's taught me a little bit this summer. I went and paid him a visit, so I got to learn a little bit more, but my French isn't as good as it should be, but I'll get there.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the players you're scouting, that might be a relevant thing. I'm not asking you to give away the pick, but like there's only a certain number of guys that are at the top of the draft boards, and an outrageous number of them are French.
I will say, like I said, when we drafted Bilal, they're doing a really good job over there, and just in terms of development.
Yeah,
and the future is bright, and will only continue to get brighter for the players over there. But like you said, today is all about BK,
no doubt,
and how excited we are to add him and keep the continuity going.
So, how wide was this search, and kind of how did the process go, knowing that BK was such a legit and obviously ultimately the final candidate when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I wouldn't go too deep into the weeds on like how many people we interviewed or all that other stuff.
Just between us.
I would say it was a pretty deep and diverse group. We were deliberate and intentional, and the reason why we wanted to do that, it was important for us to get to know the other candidates on the same level we knew Brian, which meant we're going to require some time, because I've been knowing Brian since 2008. So it was a deliberate process. He was never like the front runner, but he always had a head start because we saw him coach our guys and knew our guys. But at the end of the day, we wanted to make the best decision, not for now, but for the future, and that was Brian.
What is it about him that ultimately separated him from the other candidates, however many of them there were that you won't tell us?
The infinite number of candidates.
Yes.
One, the person. That's
like,
been
can we expand
consistent
on that? Because I feel like people hear that. I think I know what you mean, because I've been around you and Michael and talked to you guys enough and been around the organization and pro sports, et cetera. But the average person watching on television is like, I don't care. Can we get the score to be Wizards more, them less? What does that have to do? So, like, what characteristics are you looking for in a person that make a good leader, and especially in the head coach position?
It all adds up. Eventually, the goal will be, number one, we need the scoreboard to be changing a little faster than it's changing right now. But we're far away from that. In order to get to that, you got to have the right people, and the right people leading the organization. So when you think of Brian at his core, who he is, what he's about, how hard he works, and you get in tough situations, you know he's not going to give up. You know he's going to continue fighting. You know how honest and truthful he is, that I can sleep well at night knowing that something's going to get addressed that needs to be addressed. We're not going to skip steps. Guys aren't going to impact the locker room in a negative way without at least being called out on it. And he's a true basketball guy from the great state of Massachusetts, and believes
that's really what you're looking for.
The basketball needs to be played, of course. So there's a genuineness and a stylistically just a true passion for the way the game is supposed to be played at the right way, and I know he's going to continue to install that, and if he doesn't see it, he's going to call it out. So that's what I talk about in terms of the basketball stuff. He'll continue to add to the staff, and we'll elaborate and kind of get in on how we're going to play, style of play. A lot of that comes from the players we're actually going to draft moving forward. But in terms of the habits that you get every single day and building those are the things you build now that will pay off when you're in the playoff chases and doing those type of things.
I asked him the same question from his side. I'm curious for you. There's clearly a collaboration that's happening when it comes to actual basketball on the court play, style of play, things like that, some of the shot selection that you guys are driving from the front office. That is shared vision. It's not like he disagrees with it. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't hire him or anybody else. That's part of, I assume, what you're looking for is a shared vision. But you also are very clear that you want to let the coach the team.
For sure.
How do you balance? I can't think of a better word than dictating, but I don't mean dictating because I know it's in collaborating with the head coach while also allowing him the freedom to be the head coach.
My goal is to build the team and then take your hands off of it and let the coaches coach. And I think that's what you have with Brian, because he sees things not for what they are right now, but what they can be. So we try to give him a canvas and let him paint. That's the goal. But our first thing when you're looking for a coach at this stage is someone who's innovative, someone who can see a player and not necessarily just pigeonhole them in one role. So that's when you give guys multiple options and, hey, here's a skilled player, here's a skilled player. There'll be some commonalities. They'll have some length. They'll have size for their position, which gives the coaches more chances to use them and use them differently. And at the end of the day, as long as the players are playing, they're getting better, and the environment is consistent every single day, you won't hear much from me.
Will Dawkins with us here on the Hoffman Show, of course, GM of the Wizards. You, for the second straight year when we're having a conversation like this, have some huge decisions to make.
Fun
There's
times.
going to be, you have very talented players that could be useful on winners right now, and that means teams are going to call you. You have huge draft decisions. You have a big free agent decision in Tyus as well, obviously. How do you think about kind of constructing this roster in year 2, where maybe, last year is like, okay, we have to, it's so far off in the future. This year you want to take a step towards what it's ultimately going to look like. So how do all those things start to come together in terms of putting together a product for the 24-25 season?
It's funny, your first comment, you say how busy you are right now.
Yeah.
I was leaving today to come to the press conference, and my son's like, Dad, I thought it was the off season. Why are you more busy now than you are during the regular season? I was like, we put the team together and then we go. Once that's over, that's when Daddy gets the chance to actually impact the team.
Yeah.
So it is a massive period. I think when you break it down to when we walked in last year, almost a year ago to this date, we didn't know what we wanted to do. We had to really assess right away and make some quick decisions. And I think last year you saw more breaking down, pulling it apart. And with those trades, sometimes you make lopsided trades in terms of players you bring in, numbers of people, contracts. This year we have a better understanding. We have more continuity, and we know what we want it to look like. And we have a lot of people in the building that can do that we feel comfortable with. We'll always be strategic. We'll always take the phone calls, but we're not in a rush to do anything. We like where we're at in terms of the infancy stages of the rebuild, but we know a little bit more. We have more time together as a group to gel. We had more time to sit down and talk through the draft, talk through free agency, and see where we want this thing to go. We're far, far away from being a finished product, but we know more and be a little bit more strategic.
You said we know more 4 or 5 times that answer. Can you give an example of something that you know now that you didn't know a year ago?
Just in terms of the skill set of our guys, the terms of the style of play we want to play with, the way that certain guys took jumps last summer and their work capacity for what we can expect for them to become this summer, that's probably what I'm most excited about. We saw with an intentional player development plan that's inclusive and that the players feel like they're a part of, that they can buy in. They took massive jumps, a lot of them, from Corey to Eni Bilal, even Tyus. Guys got better this year. So knowing that we have a full summer to implement that and a coach who believes in it, that gets me excited.
How hard is it to make deals where in the short term you're going to get crushed? And what I mean by that is you watch Gaff go to Dallas and you're everyone's oh, I love the Wizards starting center. Now he's played in the finals. Obviously KP, same thing. But you're not thinking about right now. So I can get that as someone who sees a bigger picture and his job it is to cover it. But the average person watching on TV and consuming memes on the internet is stupid Wizards.
Why I stay away from that stuff. I didn't
maybe
realize
that's the
I
answer.
was getting crushed.
That's it. We're done, and no more social media for me.
Crushed.
No, not crushed.
I hear what you're saying.
Where the short term is going to, both teams are doing the deal because there's benefit for both teams.
Sure.
So how do you? Is it ever hard to be man, this is a great deal for them too, even though if it's the right thing for you?
That's what we want. That's what you want to feel. You want to partner with other teams, and you want, when you do a deal, for them to feel good about it and for you to feel good about it. We were both at different parts and different stages of our timeline with our teams, so I think it was beneficial for them, but also beneficial for us. And when you can do a trade like that, where I can call Gaff on the phone and hey man, you've poured into our community, you're an everyday guy, we're going to put you in a situation where you have an opportunity to really compete. It's close to home, as close as you can get being from Arkansas. It's a really good spot for you. Take advantage of it, go after it, and he feel good about it. Those are the days that, as a general manager in trade deadline, they're never easy, but those conversations make it worth it. And at the end of the day, we know what we're playing for. We know what our timeline is, and a deal that works for both teams is a deal that Michael and I will always try to do.
It's Will Dawkins, general manager of the Wizards. Any last word? That you've now done a bunch of interviews, you've done a press conference.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about BK into a microphone before you're done for the day?
I'm excited to roll up our sleeves and get to work. Him and his family got in on a plane yesterday. We already had a draft workout this morning. I already had our player workout here today and this afternoon, so he's rolling up his sleeves, getting to work just like we knew he would.
He seems like a get-to-work kind of guy.
He is.
It's Will Dawkins, everybody. Also a get-to-work kind of guy. Thanks, dude.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.